This program is not for young children to watch alone. When children see and hear about frightening things, it's best for them to have an adult close by, somebody who loves them and can put their arm around them. So please get a grown-up that you love to watch this program with you, because we're going to talk about some sad and scary things.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic.
And I'm Crystal.
We remember it so you don't have to. It's time to explore those strange moments where kid shows can get uncomfortable or dark.
Even though children's shows are primarily made to entertain children, it can also help them relate to the real world and encourage them to think for themselves.
And sometimes those episodes can be pulled or never air at all.
The world can be scary and confusing at times, but as children get older, they start to understand a little bit more every day.
Well, with all that being said, let's step into the 10 episodes of kids shows that deal with serious issues.
Number 10. Mind Pollution. Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Let's start our list off with a bang, as we tackle an episode that deals with a subject that is hardly talked about in children's media. Drugs. While the episodes of Captain Planet teach a variety of lessons on how to save and protect the environment, the first episode of Season 2, titled Mind Pollution, causes the show to take a completely different and dark turn. In this episode, the Planeteers fly to Washington, D.C., so that Linka could visit her Uncle Dmitri and cousin Boris. But there's one small problem. Boris has become a drug addict. The most upsetting part is that it happens right at the beginning of the episode, so we already know things already aren't going smoothly. Even though the drug in this episode is fictional, it still shares some of the same aspects as real-life antidepressants, such as Prozac and Zoloft. To make matters even worse, Linka becomes a drug addict herself, and it's all thanks to Boris slipping a pill into her food. Pretty soon, an entire crowd of people turn into drug addicts, and they will do anything to get their hands on more. Oh, and by the way, the name of the drug in this episode is called Bliss. Pretty soon, there is an entire crowd of people who have been turned into zombie-like drug addicts. By the orders of Verminous Scum, the man behind Bliss, they are ordered to take down the Planeteers. But the straw that broke the camel's back was when Boris died on screen from a drug overdose. Yes, you heard that right. Boris actually dies in the episode. Eventually, Linka decides to overcome her addiction so that she could use her ring as the others summon Captain Planet to save the day once again. Now, yes, the episode does end on a positive note, as usual. But still, the thought of losing someone to a drug overdose? I'm sorry. I need a moment. It's just so sad to think about the ones you love turning into these, well, you know, addicts. Becoming a shell of their former self. Jason, will you hold me?
It's okay. It's okay.
I wish my dad was still here. I'm sorry. It's just... the thought of losing to someone you really care about. It's just really hard to get over. Sometimes I wish I could just go back in time and stop my dad from drinking alcohol. And he'd still be here with me.
Number 9. The Great McGrady, Arthur. Arthur's assortment of anthropomorphic animals who are somehow just like every kid you've ever knew was a mainstay in any home with small children. The show was known to tackle some pretty serious subjects, but perhaps its biggest risk was the 2009 episode titled The Great McGrady. In it, the beloved cafeteria cook Mrs. McGrady doesn't show up for work one day, replaced by her nephew, who is a horrible cook. After a week of inedible food, Mr. Ratburn tells the children, well, that Mrs. McGrady is undergoing treatment for cancer.
Mrs. McGrady is sick. She has cancer. Her sister's coming to stay with her to help her out.
What?
What? Cancer?
Cancer? Mrs. McGrady?
The good news is they caught it early, and her doctors are working very hard to make her better.
As would happen in real life, everyone reacts to this news differently. Muffy is oblivious as always. DW and Arthur try to help by giving Mrs. McGrady absurd amounts of soup, and Francine falls into a deep depression. She tells Muffy that her grandpa died of cancer, and she continues to have nightmares and suffers poor school performance because of this. And she's even scared to visit Miss McGrady, which is a very real feeling that children can have when dealing with an adult's life-threatening illness. And, well, she does learn that there is hope thanks to Lance Armstrong. Boy, that didn't age well. Anyway, the episode ends with, well, Mrs. McGrady telling the kids that she does have cancer, but her treatments are helping.
Okay, Jason. I feel better now. I'm ready to talk about the next episode. Number 8. Sleepy Time. Bluey. Bluey is an Australian children's show centered around a blue heeler puppy, aptly named Bluey. The show aired on ABC Kids in Australia and Disney Junior in America. It follows Bluey and her friends and family learning about the real world through curiosity and imagination. While the series is primarily for children, a lot of adults have taken interest in the show as well. Kind of similar to how Generation 4 My Little Pony gained a massive fan base. What's interesting is that all the puppies in this show are voiced by actual children of the production crew. Sadly, their names are never revealed in the end credits. But with that aside, Bluey teaches us a variety of lessons. The theme I chose for this list is the concept of growing up. This theme is thought out perfectly through the episode Sleepy Time. In this episode, Bingo tells her mom, Chili, that she wants to have a big girl sleep tonight. We are then shown a dreamlike sequence where Bingo is traveling through outer space, along with her toy bunny, Floppy. Throughout her dream, and through sleepwalking apparently, Bingo is constantly seeking the comfort and security from her parents. Oh, and I should also mention that this episode also tackles the exhausting but loving experience of being a parent. Cue Bingo and Bluey literally walking all over Bandit. There's even a part where Bingo lets her toy rabbit join other rabbits in the Ring of Saturn. I guess that serves as a metaphor of letting go of your childhood. She even starts crying as she waves goodbye to him. Towards the end of the episode, Bingo rides a comet all the way to the sun. While she's happy that the sun gives her warmth and comfort, Bingo suddenly realizes that it's time for her to become independent. So she tells the sun,
I have to go. I'm a big girl now.
To which the sun replies, in Chili's voice, mind you,
Remember, I'll always be here for you, even if you can't see me.
When the morning finally comes, we see Bingo sleeping in her own bed. And after all that, the episode showed us the most important theme throughout. A parent's love is always forever, even if they're no longer there. I love you, Dad. And I miss you.
Number 7. America's Kids Respond, Zoom. With its constantly changing and ever-relatable cast, Zoom had a habit of teaching kids to relate to each other in spite of their differences, and this was no more important than in the aftermath of September 11, 2001. And to the producers' credit, they knew this. Zoom America's Kids Respond aired on PBS just 10 days after the attacks, at a time when most Americans, kids included, were dealing with an untold amount of psychological stress. The half-hour special showed the Zoom cast talking with each other about the events, and it showed a whole bunch of other kids around the world doing the same. More than that, it highlighted relief efforts showing kids and adults alike coming together to make a difference in their own communities. PBS repeated the format a year later with another special, Zoom America's Kids Remember. A reoccurring theme expressed by the cast members of this special were feelings of kindness and togetherness, and how a year later it felt like those effects were starting to change. Maybe if more kids programming expressed kindness like this, the world would be a better place today.
Number 6. SpongeBob's Last Stand, SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob has tackled serious themes in the past, and one of them is in the episode SpongeBob's Last Stand. Just as they are enjoying a day of jellyfishing in Jellyfish Fields, SpongeBob and Patrick come across a sign that says, "You're standing on the future site of the Shelly Superhighway." What I love is how SpongeBob and Patrick are not completely oblivious to the project in question. Even Patrick has a rare genius moment, saying that if the construction company goes through with building the superhighway, all of the animals and plant life in the habitat will be destroyed. Unfortunately, the rest of the Bikini Bottomites are on par with this project. Yeah, they actually support it. Even Mr. Krabs. Well, at first he supports it, until he finds out that the project is sponsored by Sheldon J. Plankton Enterprises. Yeah, in other words, this is another one of Plankton's diabolical plans. But not to steal the Krabby Patty formula, but to lure customers into a shithole of a restaurant. Despite their best efforts, SpongeBob and Patrick can't get through to the rest of the Bikini Bottomites, not even through a song. I do like the song Give Jellyfish Fields a Chance. What I'm not happy with, however, is the aftermath. Not only are SpongeBob and Patrick heckled and jeered at, but someone even calls the police on them. At least I think they do. And they end up being exiled to the outskirts of Bikini Bottom. They're also arrested for playing instruments without proper licenses for some reason, but that's besides the point. I also hate how the Bikini Bottomites cheer at the police and take photos of them as if they're celebrities. They're cops. Their job is to protect the town. They're not special. Of course, the highway is built, and Jellyfish Fields is destroyed. We're then shown several scenes where Bikini Bottom is, well, I mean, just look at it. There's smoke in the air, the sky is a variety of dirty colors, and, well, there's no grass around. The whole place is polluted. It even seems like Mr. Krabs is giving up on everything. Then, all of a sudden, this happens. That's right, we get a swarm of angry jellyfish invading Bikini Bottom. And I think their actions are justified because, well, Their habitat is destroyed, so they have nowhere to live. The jellyfish even know that plankton is behind everything. Oh well, you know what they say, karma's a bitch. Luckily, SpongeBob is finally able to get through to the rest of the Bikini Bottomites, and they work together to save the environment. Minus Squidward, because, well, he just doesn't care. And once again, peace has been restored to Bikini Bottom, thanks to SpongeBob and his friends.
Really?
Oh, don't give me that, Jason. Shows have referenced other shows before. Besides, Tom Kenny was also in the OG Powerpuff Girls too. I mean, yes, he's in the Powerpuff Girls reboot as well, but I honestly prefer the original series.
Number 5. Why, Charlie Brown? Why? The Peanuts specials were genuinely as lighthearted as children's programming ever got. For this reason, it was all the more jarring when CBS aired Why, Charlie Brown? Why? in early 1990. The special dealt with the reactions of the Peanuts gang, mainly Linus, when one of their classmates, Janice, is diagnosed with leukemia. Though Linus is the most sensitive of the bunch, the special deals with a wide variety of feelings that real-life kids could expect if one of their friends were going through such a thing. Linus has a crush on Janice, and he's anxious and fearful after him and Charlie Brown visit her in the hospital. Janice explains in a frank manner the tests that were performed on her, what her IV does, and what chemotherapy is.
Well, it wasn't just the fever. I have cancer. Cancer? That sounds scary.
Linus is shown to angrily correct Lucy later in the show about the disease being contagious, and after Janice returns to school bald from chemotherapy, he stands up to a bully who teases her about her affliction, asking him if he would like to go through what she has.
Would you like to go through what she's gone through? Think about it! Or don't you ever think about anything?
Linus later tries to visit her at home, but she's in the hospital again, allowing her sisters to vent about how they feel left out since Janice has been sick, a very real reaction that a lot of kids would feel in similar situations. The special ends on a positive note as Janice returns to school with a full head of hair, indicating that the treatments worked and she recovered. Now, this was the first time in any animated series that they had ever addressed the topic of cancer directly, and while it might have seemed risky, critics and audiences genuinely loved it. And I highly recommend that you guys watch it the moment you can.
Number 4. Remembrance of Courage Past and Perfect. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Despite its disturbing nature, Courage the Cowardly Dog has had its more lighthearted moments. But the main focus of the show deals with supernatural horror. However, there have been some episodes that have been more realistic. Some episodes include The Mask, an episode that tackles abusive relationships and causing oneself to hide their trauma through a facade. The Tower of Dr. Zalost, which tackles the serious topics of depression and profound sadness, and that spreading misery to those around you does not cure your own sadness, but rather it makes you selfish and destructive. And then there's Last of the Star Makers, which talks about the cycle of life and death. But for this list, I chose to talk about the last 2 episodes that ended the series altogether. First, let's talk about Remembrance of Courage Past. We actually get a backstory on how Courage met Muriel. A backstory shown through flashbacks of Courage and his family. Flashbacks triggered by missing dog photos on the back of a milk carton. We see puppy Courage playing with his parents, only for him to get his head stuck through a fence. Eventually, his parents take Courage to the veterinarian's office to get the fence removed. And all's well that ends well, right? Well, wrong. This veterinarian is actually an evil scientist, and his main purpose in the episode is to launch dogs into space, forcing them to breed and create space dogs. Unfortunately, Courage's parents have become his next victims. Now, Courage does attempt to save his parents. Unfortunately, he's caught by the scientist, who tries to put him in the rocket ship as well. Luckily, Courage manages to escape through the garbage chute. But unfortunately, his parents weren't so lucky. In the present, Muriel and Eustace bring Courage to the vet to find out why he's staring off into space. Of course, this veterinarian is the same man from Courage's past. And worse, he plans to launch Courage into space too. Thankfully, Muriel and Eustace, well, mainly Muriel, come to their senses and try to rescue Courage from the evil scientist. Unfortunately, he locks them into the rocket ship as well. But Courage manages to escape. Despite all the trauma he faced as a puppy, Courage gains courage to distract the scientists long enough to free both Muriel and Eustace from the rocket. Finally, as the countdown reaches 0, Courage shoves the evil scientist into the rocket, and he is blasted off into space. Before the episode ends, however, we see one more flashback.
My poor thing. Out here all alone? What courage you have. Would you like to come home with me? I'll call you Courage. We'll have a grand time.
This episode teaches us that courage doesn't mean you're not afraid of anything, but it means you're brave enough to do the things you were afraid to do before. Even though he experienced a lot of trauma when he was younger, Courage was able to find the strength and, of course, courage to save both of his owners and live happily ever after. Oh yeah, and the evil scientist does get a comeuppance. Now let's talk about this sister episode titled Perfect. At first, the episode shows us what happens when you try to be perfect, but you end up failing. This is shown via an entity known as the Perfectionist, who is seen as an elderly school teacher. Of course, Courage is the only one who can see her. This woman does everything she can in her power to turn Courage into a perfect dog, from walking perfectly to talking perfectly, although Courage was able to speak like a normal human in the seasons prior to season 4. And she even tries to teach him how to draw a perfect 6. Well, she doesn't really teach him, it's more of a final exam. Anyway, all of this causes a lot of stress on Courage, so much so that he begins to have nightmares. One of the most famous nightmare sequences throughout this whole show would have to be this, blue thing.
You're not perfect.
Holy shit! What is that? Jesus!
I don't know, but now I'm gonna have nightmares. You know what? Let's just skip to the end of the episode. Before Courage's final exam, a fish appears in his bathtub and tells him there's no such thing as perfect. And that's true. Perfection is just an illusion. In fact, our imperfections make us stand out from one another. I mean, if everyone in the world was perfect, life would be boring. After that little pep talk, Courage decides to embrace his imperfections and decides to draw what he sees as a perfect 6. You know what? That's actually pretty good. I like how abstract it is. Anyway, the perfectionist is defeated as she melts into a puddle of water, telling Courage that he will always be imperfect. But you know what? That's okay. I'm glad this episode was made, because it shows us that by being imperfect, we stand out from each other, and self-acceptance is the most powerful thing of all. No one can ever change that.
Number 3. Helga on the Couch. Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold is most fondly remembered by most children of the 90s, and while the show could have a light comic touch, it isn't given nearly enough attention for delving into the lives of big city children. In the season 4 episode Helga on the Couch, it dealt with a hot-button issue, school bullying, with surprising sensitivity. After Helga punches a classmate in the face, she's sent for a revealing talk with a child psychologist. Some savvier kids may have noticed that Helga's mother is always shown as being confused, disoriented, and having slurred speech, along with never being without a smoothie in her hand. This is a strong hint that Helga is young with an alcoholic parent, and her therapy session reinforces this idea by showing that Helga's parents are shamefully neglectful of her as well. In a flashback styled to look like a black and white 50s sitcom, it's all familial bliss and laugh track as long as Helga's sister Olga is on screen. But as soon as Helga shows up, the flashbacks turn to color, and the laugh track falls ominously silent. In the real world, her parents' admonition not to blab about their family gets some shrink, and they complain about how this never would have happened with Olga, only to underscore the fact that Helga's aggressive attitude is a direct result of no positive affection from her parents.
Hey, who's taking me to preschool?
Yeah, in a minute, Olga.
No, I'm Helga, Dad. Helga.
Whatever. Go play outside, would you?
Many children's programs have touched on bullying, but few touch on the root causes of it, and fewer do so with such painful accuracy.
Number 2. Oh boy. I've been waiting to talk about this ever since the video started, and now's the time. Like with Courage the Cowardly Dog, I'm going to be talking about 2 episodes here. 2 episodes from one of the most famous children's shows ever, Sesame Street. Now, Sesame Street is no stranger to tackling serious issues. For example, the show taught kids about divorce, twice. The first time was with Snuffy's family, which I guess is a lost episode, and the second time was with Abby's family. Other topics include racism, hospital visits, and of course, autism. Hi, Julia. But we're going to be talking about 2 very serious issues that Sesame Street has tackled. The first one we'll be talking about is death. Now, death is rarely talked about in a children's show, but the creators of Sesame Street decided to take a leap of faith with that approach. On December 7th, 1982, Will Lee, the actor who was best known for playing Mr. Harold H. Hooper, died from a heart attack at the age of 74. Instead of giving the role to a different actor or having the character move away, the producers of Sesame Street decided that this would be a great opportunity to talk about death. Like most episodes, this one starts on a positive note, with Big Bird giving drawings of his friends to, well, his friends. And then we get to one more picture, the beloved Mr. Hooper. Interestingly enough, Carol Spinney was in fact a real-life artist. Go figure. Big Bird is anxious to give Mr. Hooper his portrait. But then the episode starts to go downhill. And Maria is the first one to bring up what happened.
Big Bird, don't you remember we told you? Mr. Hooper died. He's dead.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Well, I'll give it to him when he comes back.
Big Bird, Mr. Hooper's not coming back.
Why not?
Big Bird, when people die, they don't come back.
Ever?
No, never.
Although Big Bird is both sad and confused, he learns to accept the fact that Mr. Hooper is never coming back. Which is quite sad because both he and Mr. Hooper had a strong connection, even though Big Bird kept constantly getting his name wrong. Of course, in a last-ditch effort to get through to Big Bird, Gordon tells him,
Big Bird, it has to be this way because.
Just because?
Just because.
Oh. You know, I'm gonna miss you, Mr. Looper.
That's Hooper, Big Bird. Hooper.
Right.
What's really sad to me is that Mr. Hooper never got the chance to meet Snuffy before he died. I wish he had the chance when he was still alive.
Even if he wasn't physically able to meet Snuffy, I believe that he was there when they did find out that Snuffy was real. It may have been in spirit, but he was still there. Just like he is still there for the show now.
You're right, Jason. He's still with everyone on Sesame Street, in spirit. Besides, although he may be gone, the legacy of his store continues to carry itself out. And that is amazing. Now we're going to talk about a more modern-day episode titled Elmo Visits the Firehouse. This episode aired back in 2002, just 8 days before 9/11. The episode begins with Maria and Elmo having a lunch date together. That is, until a fire breaks out in Hooper's store. Thankfully, Maria is able to help Elmo escape the building by telling him to
Stay low and go!
Although the fire is eventually put out, Elmo is too afraid to go near the store again.
Elmo doesn't want to go back into Hooper's store.
Oh, hey, it's okay. It's okay. There's nothing to be afraid of. The chief said that the fire's out.
Elmo doesn't care, Alan. Elmo doesn't want to go back into Hooper's store ever again.
That's one of the main issues this episode talks about. Fear. Specifically, a fear of fire. But this episode teaches us how firefighters are our friends, and it's their job to help people, even in the biggest of all emergencies. Interestingly, the firefighters in this episode were not actors, but rather real members of the Fire Department of New York, or the FDNY for short. In fact, this episode alone was dedicated to a firefighter who lost his life during 9/11. Lieutenant Robert Nagel, or Nagel. Anyway, the point is, he died doing what he served to do, helping people. Eventually, Elmo does go back to his cheerful personality, and even his Elmo's World segment is dedicated to firefighters. Also, I know we're talking about serious issues here, but I just thought it was cute when Elmo slid down the fire pole. But yes, firefighters are here to help people, not to scare anyone. So if you ever encounter a firefighter, police officer, etc., be sure to tell them, thank you for your service.
Number 1. Mr. Rogers talks about divorce, and Mr. Rogers talks about violence and shootings.
Did you ever know any grown-ups who got married and then later they got a divorce? Well, it is something that people can talk about, and it's something important. I know a little girl and a little boy whose mother and father got a divorce, and those children cried and cried. You know why? Well, one reason was that they thought it was all their fault. But of course it wasn't their fault.
A very serious issue that can affect a child's mental health is divorce, with various factors tying in, such as the child's understanding of the concept and the adult's handling of the situation. On February 16, 1981, an untitled episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood aired, which discussed divorce and helped children understand it a bit better. The episode begins with Mr. McFeely stopping by with a piece of music he found, leading him and Mr. Rogers to play the song on the piano. The song reminds McFeely of his wedding day. The conversation then leads to how some people aren't always happy together, which leads to divorce. The episode then goes on to show Prince Tuesday learning that another girl's parents are divorced, and he worries that one little argument could lead parents down the same path. Interestingly, the conversation then changes to about machines and how machines don't have feelings, but people do, and that you will always be a person with feelings.
Prince Tuesday said he'd like to be a machine and not have any feelings. But when you're born, you're a person. You're not a machine. Machines just do the same things over and over and over again. But when you're a person, you can grow and change and feel.
Despite the episode focusing on divorce, it doesn't spend too much time on it, only about half the episode. But whenever it does, it handles the topic in a usual, kind, and respectful way, in typical Mr. Rogers fashion. It teaches children that the feelings of a parent may change, but your feelings matter as well in the midst of all this confusion. And now, let's talk about the episode on violence and shootings.
There are people in the world who are so sick or so angry that they sometimes hurt other people, and they're usually the ones who end up in the news.
Another rare episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood exists that most people likely have never seen, in this case, discussing violence and shootings. The episode was made in response to another assassination, John Lennon's in 1981, and also spoke more directly to adults. In the episode, he urges children to express their feelings of hurt and anger, and not to bottle them up. He tells them that even he gets angry sometimes, saying, especially when I hear about people hurting other people. This episode also includes one of the most famous quotes by Mr. Rogers about looking out for helpers.
When I was a boy and I would hear about something scary, somebody getting badly hurt or something like that, I'd ask my parents or my grandparents about it, and they would usually tell me how they felt about it. In fact, my mother would try to find out who was helping the person who got hurt. Always look for the people who are helping, she'd tell us. You'll always find somebody who's trying to help. So even today, when I read the newspaper and see the news on television, I look for the people who are trying to help. One of the most important parts of growing up is learning to talk and play about our feelings. Some people wonder if Mr. Rogers ever gets angry. Of course I do, especially when I hear about people hurting other people.
In the world we live in today, we don't have Fred Rogers to guide our youth, to remind adults of his teachings. However, while he may be gone, his words are never forgotten. His talks on serious issues and method of never talking down has created a lasting impact on thousands of people. The world is a better place, thanks to Fred Rogers, and we're truly lucky to have him as our neighbor. That was fun, Crystal.
I had fun too, Jason. Oh, well, except at one point.
Oh, your father?
Yeah. I'm sorry for my emotional outburst. I really miss my dad. I know it's been over a year, but why can't I let it go? Why can't I just accept the fact that he's gone?
Well, in the words of Fred Rogers, to die is to be human, and anything human is mentionable, and anything mentionable is manageable.
You're right, Jason. I'm sorry.
Come along. My piano's over there. Why don't we play and sing that song about being proud of people?
Oh, fine.
Okay? I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you. I hope that you're as proud as I am proud of you. I'm proud of you. I hope that you are proud and that you're learning how important you are. How important important each person you see can be. Discovering each one's specialty is a most important learning. I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you. I hope that you're as proud as I am proud of you. I'm proud of you. I hope that you are proud of you too. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.